I, 25 male, went on a date with a guy, 30 male, and turned him down. Now he is trying to destroy my life. Hi everyone, like the title says, I'm in a little bit of a dire situation at the moment. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. So a few nights ago I, 25 male, went on a date with a guy called Mark, 30 male. I ended up driving to Mark's place to have dinner and a drink, and Mark had offered that if I liked I could stay the night if things went well. It was a long distance to drive into town where Mark lives, so I thought that would be a decent idea if we got on well that I'd crash there for the night. We had dinner and a few drinks and I decided to take Mark up on his offer and stay the night. He seemed nice, he was a fairly charming guy, however there was one thing that concerned me. It turned out that Mark worked in the adult industry, and his house was filled with sexual paraphernalia in every corner of the house. In the bathroom there was an enormous photo of him nude with an erection just hanging there on the wall. Bookcases were lined with lubricants, more photos, fetish equipment etc. I decided that I would be non-judgmental, and see how things go with Mark. So I stayed the night at Mark's house, and we cuddled in bed and chatted. It was nice. In the morning I had a shower and headed to work. Now ever since I left Mark's house he was texting me non-stop. Enormous walls of text, he was clearly very into me. I got sent a list of 50 things I like about you, via text message. It was all a bit over the top. Anyway, a couple of days later Mark was still texting non-stop, and I was beginning to get a little exhausted from it all. We had just been on one date, and he was obsessed with me. And I was also still wondering whether I'd like to pursue things with him or not. Anyway, this night a couple of days later I'd had a glass of wine and Mark was asking me what was going on, as I hadn't replied to his 90th text message that evening. I decided to discuss with Mark that I wasn't quite feeling the same way towards him that he was towards me. Side note, I work in healthcare for the government and work in a very sensitive area with vulnerable groups of people. So I was texting Mark and he was asking me what was wrong with him that I didn't like. There were a few things I explained to him, but lastly I explained that I don't know if I can be in a relationship with someone who works in the sex industry, adult entertainment, as I have a professional image to maintain and need to be perceived as having decency. Possibly poor choice of words, but Mark went off, calling me emotionally abusive, manipulative, judgmental etc. I decided to ignore Mark for the rest of the night and go to bed. In the morning I woke up to about 50 messages from Mark. Mark has made a myriad of serious threats. I have discovered that Mark is actually a very disturbing person. One of his messages stated that he is not going to let me off the hook that easily, and he's going to make me pay. Mark said things like, "Why do you think I walked you to your car? So I could get your number plate details." He sent me details of my medical registration number which is kept on a card in my wallet. He then also sent me my DOB demographics. He found a medical article one was featured in and discovered my workplace. Mark has gone to ridiculous lengths to find out everything about me. Mark's final threat was to get me fired, and make me lose my medical registration by reporting me to the medical board. Mark has said he will lie and tell them whatever is necessary to ensure I get destroyed. I blocked Mark this morning and deleted all conversations from him. Maybe a silly move as it may have been evidence. After blocking him he messaged me on Facebook, and I had to block him on about 5 different platforms. Mark used a new phone number to message me after this. I would appreciate any advice on what to do. I'm honestly so stressed about this. Mark has nude pictures of me that he could use against me. He could also say any number of things to my employer or the medical board. I've managed to temporarily placate Mark to buy myself some time to figure out what to do. Update. I'm currently using a tool to recover my iPhone messages. I've used the same tool with deleted photos before and it worked really well. In the meantime I've already had friends in the gay community advise me that there's online posts popping up slandering me. Yeah. Definitely try to get those messages back, and get in contact with a lawyer. He sounds fixated on you in a very dangerous way. It was a bad move to delete the conversation. Try to fish in some info from him like ask him shat he's going to do and then go to the police with the evidence. Get a restraining order against him. Fuck that dude. Please be careful. He sounds like a sociopath. Me and my bois had a dude like that in our friend group that ended up stalking. Blocking may not wash him away. Not trying to scare you. Just if you feel like it's appropriate you may want to go to the police. Yikes, that is super scary. I'm sorry you're going through this. If the messages were through iMessage, you may be able to recover them. Try to recover them if you can and take the new messages to consult with a lawyer on next steps. Try asking legal advice. Also, please go down to the police station and report him as soon as possible. I had to do this to report my ex who was harassing me, and the officer gave him a call right in front of me and told him to stop. It shook him enough to work. Lastly, please be safe and stay vigilant. Purple Heart. Call the police about the harassment and file a restraining order. Not really sure how going on one date with a clear psychopath could be a fireable offense. So that threat is empty. As for being concerned for your safety, I would need just a little more info. You said it was a long-distance drive to where he lived, so does that mean he has no specific information as to where you are? Also, and you may have already done this, you should probably give your social media privacy settings a tweak. The odds are they're empty threats by someone who is emotionally immature, but I think it would be unwise to assume that. Even if he knows very little about you specifically, I would at least be on guard a bit. Let people you trust know enough to be watchful for at least a few days. I would definitely go to the police and file a complaint first up. If they don't want to do anything for you, then you need to insist. This person has threatened you. Don't let it lie. Secondly, I would be talking to your supervisor. You don't need to go into any detail. Just a simple disclosure that you have had some threats from a person you went on a date with and you just want to give a heads up in case they try to contact you at work. Third of all, never ever send nudes to someone. Dude, come on. Good luck. Boyfriends, 29M, attractive neighbor, 30F, wants to go on walks with him? One for you all. My partner, 29M, and I, 28F, have been together a couple of years now. We haven't moved in yet, but I do stay over at his place a few times a week. He lives alone at the moment. Context below for you. He has a long-term work friend, 29F, that he was chatting to one day, and he found out that she actually visits his area to visit one of her friends. Long story short, they found out that her friend is actually his neighbor. Small world or what? When I say his neighbor, I mean the next door down of his apartment. So when his work friend came next time, she made them meet for the first time, and the neighbor is a single mother of 2 kids. Apparently my boyfriend mentioned he has a girlfriend in passing and that I stay over. A month later, his whole building needed to be evacuated and he ran into the attractive neighbor and they were chatting, and once the evacuation was over they returned back up and she invited him to see her place briefly as she had seen his. I thought this was odd but didn't raise it as he openly told me this. He briefly stayed and left not long after. The neighbor then went through social media to add my boyfriend and messaged along the lines of, "Hope you don't mind me adding you. Just in case we have more evacuations," so they started following each other. Then a few weeks later she messaged him saying that she is deactivating her Instagram and gave him her number just in case he needed to contact her for the evacuation. I also saw a brief passing interaction between them one time. It was awkward waves from both sides and I could feel they both were attracted to each other as both are good looking. My boyfriend recently reached out to her to ask about a building issue, which should have been a quick response from her side, but she proceeded to make conversation. He appeared to be very one-worded in the texts in response, but then she asked him how lockdown is and he mentioned it's okay and that he goes for walks to get his exercise intake. To which she proposed, "I usually go in afternoons, but we should go on walks together." My boyfriend was taken aback and asked if she would bring her newborn baby as well, and mentioned it is quite cold at the time as he goes in the evenings, not the afternoon. She had no hesitations. She reaches out to him via text each time they have an evacuation to see if he's going downstairs. If not, then she doesn't go. So my question to you all, is this normal and platonic for a female neighbor to accompany my partner on his walk, which is routine for him? Would you see this as purely a way to start a friendship or something else? Update. Thanks for your responses. I can see there is definitely a mixed response and nothing really definitive. I decided to voice how I feel about the situation to my partner in the fact that it makes me uncomfortable. We chatted about it and he thinks there's nothing wrong with going for a walk, but as it is making me uncomfortable he won't go. He says if I was in the same situation then he would expect the same response, which I feel is fair. He didn't want to ghost her, so wrote her a message along the lines of me being uncomfortable with them going for a walk and he hopes she isn't weirded out by it and that he is there to help out if in need. The last part one assume was just to lighten up the text. Her response was along the lines of, "Oh, I understand." Funnily enough, the building had another evacuation and I could see after that she had messaged him again in relation to asking if he is going downstairs to evacuate. I didn't question this interaction as I have just laid a boundary down with him. Reckon it is okay to let the messages about the evacuation, chatting continue? Seems abnormal on her end and your boyfriend is doing what he can to politely brush her off. Maybe have him introduce you so you're not a phantom in her mind. Offer to walk with them. How does your boyfriend feel about this? It sounds like she's either really desperate for a friend or really desperate for a way to get next to him. It's hard to tell because we don't know her. Why was the waving awkward when you saw her that one time? I could feel they both were attracted to each other as both are good looking. Please don't let your insecurity destroy you. She's being too friendly for sure, but this is where trust and open communication comes in. I would trust my husband to find her regular attempts at meeting up odd, and I would trust him to ignore these attempts. I would also directly tell him that I am a bit uncomfortable with her, and I would expect him to thereafter keep her at a distance without me having to tell him to. Also, do not feel insecure solely because she is good looking. Her behavior is concerning for sure, but assuming your boyfriend is attracted to her just shows your low self-esteem. Be confident that you are who your boyfriend wants. She appears to be pushing for something here. Maybe she is lonely or maybe she finds your boyfriend attractive, but your 29-year-old boyfriend needs to put some boundaries here. You just wait and see how he responds to her walking off her. I hope he shuts her down. And if you are uncomfortable, please talk to your BF. Don't sweep your feelings under the rug. That's the worst thing you can do. How many times does the building have evacuations? I don't know where you are, but residential buildings in the States don't have many if at all. Seems she's trying a little hard to meet the guy at all times when they're just neighbors. The guy isn't giving hints of desperation of wanting to hang out, so she shouldn't be trying so hard. I could feel they both were attracted to each other as both are good looking. This right here speaks volumes. I think you have very low self-confidence and don't trust you BF. Nothing here speaks to infidelity. I think you need to work on yourself and why you feel these things with little to no evidence other than neighbors talking to each other. After last night, my 24F boyfriend, 31M, wants me to cut any and all contact from my ex's family. This all is because of last night, I think. Yesterday me and boyfriend had plans to go bar hopping with my best friend Tiffany, 26F. We've been best friends since I was in 9th grade. Best friend and boyfriend get along really well. They both have a shared interest in serial killers and I can tell they are excited to have someone to talk in depth about a niche topic. My ex-boyfriend is best friend's cousin. Current boyfriend is aware of this and has been seemingly fine about it. He's voiced to me when he isn't the biggest fan of one of my friends, so I think he'd tell me if it bothered him. So me and boyfriend are getting ready for our night out, and best friend texts me that her cousins Mary and Beth are joining. Mary and Beth are my ex's older sisters, and I always got along with them. They're still on my socials, and Beth's social circle overlaps with mine since she dates one of my coworkers, my other friend's roommate. Mary is in town this weekend for the first time since 2020, so of course best friend Tiffany would want to see her. I told my boyfriend who would be joining, if he doesn't want to join I'd understand because I can see how he might feel awkward. I didn't want to break plans with Tiffany because we didn't see each other for a whole year and also I wanted to go out. Boyfriend said he wanted to go, he missed going to bars. Night starts out fine enough. They all talk about Game of Thrones and Marvel, things I'm not super into, so I'm glad everyone is getting along. At some point the conversation switches to reminiscing about past times, frat parties, other bar nights, holidays, events me and the girls shared. I can tell that the girls are being conscious of not bringing up my ex, despite the fact he was there at those events in the past. Ex was not at the bar with us. My boyfriend leaves to get a drink at the bar and doesn't come back. When it's brought to my attention by Tiffany, I go looking for boyfriend. He's at the bar by himself. I ask him why he hasn't gone back to the table. He said he was watching sports. Total lie, he's not a sports person. When I asked again, he said that it's obvious I'm going to end up back with my ex one day, that I'm part of their family, and that they were purposely excluding him from the conversation. I told him that's ridiculous, and please come back to the table. He comes back to the table but he acts sulky and immature. Negative body language, one-word answers. I can tell everyone is picking up on the bad vibes and it's making the night awkward. Boyfriend and I get home and he's still quiet. I asked if we could talk about the weirdness and he said we'll talk tomorrow. When Tiffany texted me to make sure I got home safe, she also asked if everything was okay between me and boyfriend. So yeah, she picked up on weirdness. So it's tomorrow now. Boyfriend told me that he is uncomfortable with me being so friendly with ex's cousin and sisters, That it leaves the door open for me to get back together with me ex. He wants me to block them on all socials, avoid any social situations they might be at, and to cut off friendship with Tiffany. I told him this is a ridiculous demand and he said that by me saying that, it confirms that I eventually want to get back with my ex. Is his request reasonable? Am I missing something? I don't maintain an active friendship with ex's siblings, so I don't think I'm doing anything wrong with being friendly and civil with them. Edit some grammar. He is 30 plus and I think he is acting like he has the maturity of a teenager. You have to decide if you want to be with someone that wants to take your friend away. I personally think that the relationship should end. I feel like the reason makes him sound very paranoid and like he does not trust you. 2 things. 1. Your ex is your ex for a reason. 2. He's going to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy if he keeps behaving like that. He needs to grow up. He might as well be wrapping you in a bow and dropping you on your ex's doorstep with his behavior. Insecurity is not an excuse for being a sulky whiny baby over nothing. Also, relationships require the consent of both parties. You've made it clear you have no desire to get back with your ex, so it doesn't matter if your ex wants it or not. Even if you broke up with your boyfriend you'd find someone new. He's being ridiculous. Boys his age go out with girls your age because women his age won't put up with his bullshit. You are more mature than he is, so maybe you need to be with a guy who is as mature as you. No, his request is not fair. They were your friends before you two got together://. He is just insecure. So he thinks you should end multiple friendships of over a decade because he's feeling insecure about a guy who wasn't even there? Bless his tiny little shrunken heart. He's over 30 and got jealous about your life from before him to the point he wants you to cut off all these friendships, but most importantly that includes your best friend he liked hanging out with too until now. This boy is about as mature as a drunk toddler. People don't do ultimatums in relationships unless it's the hill they are willing to die on or they're trying to be controlling. Don't let anyone, including your BF, tell you who you can be friends with or not. They did nothing that could lead to him thinking that they want you back with your ex. They even did the exact opposite and left your ex out of the conversation. Not your friends are the problem here, his insecurity is the problem. If you give in now, then you strengthen his insecurity and give him the feeling that he was right with his demand. He needs to accept you and the people you chose to be your friends. That is his job, not yours. Boyfriend too insecure. They're your girlfriends. It's a lot easier to find a new boyfriend than it is to find new friends. Never let your partner cut you off from your support network. A good person will never ask you to do that. I love my boyfriend, but his daughter is becoming a huge issue for me. We've been together for several years now, and his 23-year-old daughter who lives at home is destroying my will to want to be here. She's never had a job that lasted longer than 2 months. And has only ever had 2 jobs. She does nothing in the home to help around the house. She picked up a smoking habit and doesn't financially take care of that. She says she's too sensitive to handle the world. And I get that for some people that's a genuine issue. But I know for a fact she's just being manipulative and she's lying to everyone. I'm so tired of it, but nothing changes and nothing seems like it ever will. Recently, his other daughter moved back in, with her young child. This I don't really mind. Small kids aren't my bag. That's why I'm not a mom. But with that addition, it's just exacerbating the other issues. I mentally feel like I'm spinning out of control. I'm a really excessive overthinker. I never get time alone with him to discuss anything. His daughter will literally just walk right into our room. The walls are paper thin in this house. So even my sex life is suffering. I feel like a maid. There are personal issues that him and I need to discuss that are no fault of his daughter's, that I understand. But even when we try to go out for a date, the 23-year-old will start acting all sad and say she feels neglected, then bam. Night changes and we do what she wants with her. I'm starting to feel unimportant unless I'm cooking or cleaning, which normally I love to do. But now it's just a chore, that if I don't complete, will turn into the house getting destroyed in less than a day. And there's many more examples I could write, but my hand is getting tired. I don't know what to do. I don't want to not be with him, but she's never gonna leave because he's never going to make her do anything. Face with symbols on mouth, face with symbols on mouth, face with symbols on mouth. Few. Update: he spent all day yesterday with his daughter, literally, not even in the same room as me. Today we decided to start a movie in our room alone. His phone starts blowing up with, "Where you at? Why are you ignoring me?" She plays it off as she's just joking, but it is literally every damn time we're trying to be alone. And honestly, outside of bugging him when we're trying to be alone, the only time she makes an effort to hang out with him is to get cigarettes or weed. As soon as she's done smoking, she bounces. If he ever says no, she throws a sad tantrum, starts talking about how she has abandonment issues, because she frickin' knows that makes him feel bad. Then he gives in to her. I hate to see him getting taken advantage of, it hurts to see that that's how his daughter is treating him. He's no perfect man or father, but he's been great and worked so hard to provide. I'm sorry I'm ranting so much, but I'm literally shaking, and he went out there to hang out with her. So I'm just sitting here in the room, movie paused, waiting. And another update. So we just got done eating, and also spent over $500 on groceries yesterday. She was so sad we wanted to watch a movie alone. She has guilted him into taking her to get fast food. This is day 2 of me just hiding in my room. If I go out there and see the mess, I'll start cleaning. I'm such a neat freak. I would get myself a place to stay and move out. Don't broadcast your intentions. On the day of quietly go. When he asks why, tell him you are not going to be the reason for fights between him and his daughter. You then quietly inform him, he can take you out on dates, visit anytime, and no, your daughter is not welcome. Your line in the sand is no living together until his adult daughter starts adulting at a new address. Stand your ground. Sounds like you need to stop doing everything in the house and make sure to just cook a meal for you and you only. You're not the housemaid or cook. They need to start appreciating you. If his daughter likes to barge into your room, then change the locks in your room and start doing it to her, and just barge into her room at all hours of the day. And you need to talk to him about setting up boundaries with them, or you may be moving out. Also, if the walls are paper thin, use them to annoy them back. Have loud sex. Okay, loud music. Just because they live there doesn't mean you have to make them comfortable. His daughters are deliberately doing this to you, and your boyfriend might be a good father and provider, but he isn't a good partner. If he can't tell his daughters that they have to follow some boundaries if they want to stay in his house, then he's allowing them to mistreat you. He is not standing up for you. Now you say you love him, and I am sure you do, but he's not demonstrating the same love for you. If he truly loved you, he'd have been offended that his daughters were treating you like a maid. He would have enforced boundaries. Women tolerate a lot of bullshit in the name of love, wishing that things will miraculously change, but they refuse to solve their own problems by acknowledging that a man who loves them will not allow his loved ones to walk all over his partner. You have a boyfriend problem, not a his daughter problem. Seems like your boyfriend failed to influence, guide, direct his daughter as she was growing up, and the same pattern is still there. If I were you, I'd get clear in my own head on how much longer you will tolerate the situation, and then have a sit down with your BF out of the house. Lay it out and let him know that you will not continue in this fashion, and ask him what he is going to do about it and when. I would also back it up, in which you should clearly communicate, after the date you've decided on, you will be making other living arrangements. Don't tolerate what is intolerable for you out of misguided love. You have legitimate complaints. Too many of these adult children are playing the mental illness card to keep from being responsible, productive members of society. Your husband needs to set boundaries, responsibilities, and an exit plan if they are to remain under your roof. Good luck. Why don't you move out while keeping your relationship with him? What are the daughter's plans? Are there any plans? Cuss, there should be plans. What's the 23-yo deal? She can't stay there forever. Has your boyfriend shared what her plan to move out is? What's up with the other daughter with the kid? Is this temporary? If there's no plan, this doesn't bode well. Your partner should be talking to them, and there should be some timelines. If there is no timeline, cuss, he won't talk to them about it, he could lose you. You chose not to have kids for a reason. It's not going to be overnight. And hopefully it won't be something that puts a wedge between everyone. But start with your partner. Does he have any idea when they're planning to move out? Your boyfriend seems to already have a primary partner. And it's not you. You're the other woman and live in maid to this couple. Is that what you really want for the rest of your life? You're cutting your boyfriend a lot of slack for this situation, when he's more than 50% responsible for the dynamic between them as the parent and the sole adult for most of the relationship. His daughter is the way she is and treats him the way she does because he's a shit father and allowed it to happen. Encouraged it to happen even. This situation isn't worth trying to resolve or repair with him. I'm surprised you've put up with this lifestyle for this long, honestly. It may suck being alone, but I can't imagine it possibly being worse than putting up with living with these people and their crap.